You're sitting around a fire with 6 other people. It's been dark for hours. Someone just told a story about where the antelope herd moved, and you're watching their face while they talk. Not because you're suspicious. You just are. Everyone at that fire is doing it, watching, listening, weighing. And here's what you don't realize. That fire isn't just keeping you warm. It's running the oldest lie detector humans ever built. Here's the problem humans have always had. We can't read minds. You have no direct access to what's happening inside anyone else's head. All you get is their face, their voice, their body, and you have to guess whether that's a window into the truth or a mask built to fool you. Every social animal on Earth deals with some version of this problem. But humans deal with it constantly because we talk. We tell each other things we can't verify. Where the water is. What happened 3 valleys over. Whether that stranger is dangerous. And every single one of those exchanges carries a risk. What if they're wrong? Worse, what if they're lying? So around 400,000 years ago, maybe earlier, something changed the entire equation. Controlled fire. And once humans started sitting around it every single night for hours, something happened that nobody planned. We accidentally built a truth-testing machine out of light and shadow. Here's the first piece of it. Firelight is a terrible light to lie in. Not because it's dim, but because of how it moves. Flickering light causes something called dynamic shadowing, constant tiny shifts across a person's face as the flame dances. Modern psychology has a name for what this does to us. It's called the moving shadow effect, and it makes facial expressions look more intense and more readable than they actually are. Micro-expressions, the tiny involuntary flickers of fear, guilt, or hesitation that flash across a face in under half a second, become almost impossible to fully suppress under firelight. In steady daylight, you can smooth your face into something calm. In firelight, with shadows constantly shifting across your eyes and mouth, tiny cracks show. Ancient humans didn't know the neuroscience. But they didn't need to. They just knew that firelight made liars easier to catch, even if nobody could have explained why. And it wasn't just the light. It was the silence around it. During the day, ancestral humans were busy. Hunting, gathering, walking, working. Conversation was fragmented, task-focused, interrupted by movement. But at night, around the fire, something changed. In 2014, anthropologist Polly Wiesner published a study comparing daytime and nighttime conversations among the Jew/Hoansi Bushmen of the Kalahari. During the day, over 80% of conversation was practical. Complaints, coordination, logistics. But at night, around the fire, that flipped almost completely. Over 80% of nighttime talk became stories, myths, and social commentary. And here's the part that matters. Firelight conversation happens face to face, close together, with nothing else to look at. No task to hide behind. No movement to distract from someone's expression. Just faces, lit by flame, watching each other for hours. That's an interrogation room built by accident. Except nobody was being interrogated. Everybody was. Because here's the thing about small hunter-gatherer groups. Everyone knew everyone. There were no strangers to perform for, no anonymity to hide behind. If you told a story about seeing a lion near the river and there was no lion, someone would eventually walk that way and know you'd lied. Reputation in a group of 20 to 30 people isn't abstract. It's your entire survival network. Lie convincingly once, and maybe you get away with it. Lie badly, under firelight, with everyone's eyes on your face for hours at a time, night after night, and you get caught. Which means something brutal was happening around every one of those fires for hundreds of thousands of years. Constant, low-grade lie detection. And that pressure didn't just punish liars. It shaped human faces themselves. Here's where it gets strange. Humans have something almost no other primate has. Visible sclera, the white part of your eyes. Chimpanzees have dark sclera that blends into their iris, making it hard to tell exactly where they're looking. Researchers call this the cooperative eye hypothesis, the idea that visible eye whites evolved specifically because being readable, being trackable, being harder to deceive, became an advantage rather than a liability. Around a fire, in low light, with a group watching every glance, an eye that gives away exactly where you're looking is a massive tell. And yet evolution pushed us toward exactly that kind of eye. Which tells you something important. For most of human history, being harder to read wasn't rewarded. Being honest, or at least being caught quickly when you weren't, was. That should sound backwards. In a world full of predators and competitors, you'd expect evolution to favor the best liars, the best manipulators, the ones who could fool everyone else. But small hunter-gatherer bands didn't work like that. Groups that could trust each other's information survived. Groups full of liars didn't. If you told your group there was water past the ridge and there wasn't, people died looking for it. If you claimed you'd seen dangerous animals to get out of a hunting shift, and it happened once too often, you weren't just embarrassed. You were exiled, and exile from a group of 30 people in the Pleistocene was close to a death sentence. So natural selection didn't just tolerate honesty. It enforced it, using firelight as the enforcement mechanism. Now here's the twist nobody expects. This system wasn't just catching liars. It was training everyone, liars and honest people alike, to get better at reading faces. Every night at the fire was practice. Watching micro-expressions. Learning which flickers meant hesitation and which meant fear. Learning the difference between someone excitedly exaggerating a hunting story and someone hiding something real. Over tens of thousands of years of nightly repetition, human brains developed dedicated neural architecture for exactly this task. The fusiform face area, a region of your brain that exists almost entirely to process facial expression and identity, is disproportionately large in humans compared to other primates. You didn't just evolve a face that's hard to hide. You evolved a brain built to specialize in reading that face. Firelight built the test. Evolution built the exam room inside your skull. And there's something else the fire did that's easy to miss. It created something psychologists call the spotlight effect long before that term existed. When you're one of 6 or 7 people illuminated by a single fire in total darkness, you are, quite literally, in a spotlight. There's nowhere else to look. No crowd to disappear into, no dim corner to retreat to. Every face is lit, every face is visible, and every face is being watched by everyone else at the same time. That's an enormous amount of social pressure applied every single night for your entire life. Modern humans get uncomfortable speaking in front of 30 strangers under stage lighting once in a while. Ancient humans lived that exact situation every night of their lives, except the 30 people weren't strangers. They were the people who decided whether you ate tomorrow. So think about what that pressure actually built over time. A species that developed incredibly fine-tuned social monitoring. A species whose faces evolved to be legible rather than secretive. A species whose brains built dedicated hardware for detecting deception in expression, tone, and hesitation. And it happened not in courtrooms, not in labs, not with any device or technology, but around a fire, because that's simply where humans were forced to sit still, face to face, for hours at a time, night after night, for hundreds of thousands of years. Compare that to what we've built since. The modern polygraph, invented in the 1920s, measures heart rate, blood pressure, breathing, and skin conductivity, trying to catch the physical signs of stress that come with lying. And here's the embarrassing part. It doesn't work particularly well. Most polygraph results aren't admissible in court because the science behind them is shaky at best. Anxious, honest people fail them. Calm, skilled liars pass them. An entire modern machine, built with electrodes and ink and needles, can't do reliably what a fire and a circle of attentive faces did for free, every single night, for most of human history. Because the fire wasn't measuring your heartbeat. It was doing something the polygraph never figured out how to do. It was creating conditions, light, closeness, sustained attention, repetition, where deception simply became harder to sustain and honesty became the path of least resistance. Not because anyone designed it that way. Because it emerged from people needing warmth, needing light, needing somewhere to sit when the sun went down, and accidentally building the most effective truth-testing environment our species has ever known. And it explains something strange about human behavior that persists to this day. Why confessions happen late at night. Why people tell you things around a campfire they'd never say in an office. Why lie detection in casual conversations still relies almost entirely on watching someone's face rather than any device. Every one of those instincts is a fossil, a behavioral fossil left over from hundreds of thousands of nights spent exactly where you'd expect, close to the flame, watching faces you depended on to survive. So the next time you're at a fire, a campfire, a fireplace, even a candle at dinner, and you notice yourself watching someone's face a little more closely than usual, that's not a coincidence, and it's not new. That's an instinct built over hundreds of thousands of years, inherited from ancestors whose lives depended on catching a lie before it cost them everything. You don't need a machine to know when someone's lying to you. Your ancestors already built one. It's sitting behind your eyes right now, and it was trained by firelight long before anyone ever thought to write the truth down.